We're already halfway through February, and we're going to talk alfalfa this morning with Don Miller. And Don, of course, is a Director of Product Development with Alforex. And Don, we've still got snow on the ground here, but we're thinking about alfalfa. Hopefully it's coming through the winter better than it did last year. But there are some things that we have to be aware of here. Micronutrients for top alfalfa production, soil fertility, the right pH. Take us through some of those things that we should be on top of or better be on top of.
Yeah, this last year we've talked a lot about getting a top variety to put on your farm, like a Higest 360 or AFX 460, those varieties with good fiber digestibility and an improvement in leaf-to-stem ratio. But with that top genetics, we also need to combine that with some good soil fertility. Top variety, you have the genetic potential there, but without good soil fertility, you don't really realize that genetic potential, and you won't get the yields and quality that you want.
So what are some of the practices we have to go forward with as far as making sure that this alfalfa is fed right so it'll grow and produce like we should have it?
Yeah, the first thing you need to do is do a soil test and make sure that your macro and micronutrients are in that optimal range for top production. And also check your pH. Again, if we don't have that pH in that 6.5 to 7.5 range, we're not going to get the production that we want off that field. So make sure that everything is in line. Make sure we have adequate potassium. That's for good winter survival. And then also the last few years we've been seeing a need for sulfur. In the past we used to have a lot of smog in the air, and we had what we called acid rain that really put sulfur into the soils when it rained. But we don't have as much smog as we used to, and so we're seeing now that in some fields having some sulfur deficiencies, and so we need to check and make sure that sulfur are at adequate levels, and also we need to check for the micronutrients. Sometimes we have a boron deficiency, so we need to check that. The other micronutrients, Wisconsin soils have less problems with the zinc and iron and copper, but again, just check and do your soil test and make sure that we have adequate fertility to get that top production out of those top producing varieties.
Soil test enough? Do we need tissue testing? What all do we need to do to make sure we know where we're at?
Yeah, tissue testing, especially for some of the micronutrients. Again, a good soil test and tissue analysis will tell you where you're at and make sure that we're in that optimal range. You've got top varieties on your field, but you need to make sure that the genetic potential is realized with good fertility and good management. And combine all those things, and I think you'll have increased profit potential out there in that field. So
you feed it right, it'll grow and do the job it's going to be doing for you. Thanks, Don. Don Miller, Director of Product Development with Alforex.